Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon L, and in this lesson we'll see together les conjugaisons irrégulières. And when we're talking especially about les verbes du premier groupe en CER. Okay, so if you remember correctly, well, I told you that when we're talking about the first group of verbs ending with ER, we're talking about regular verbs, which is the case, but then we'll get some subgroups, and these groups actually they will have to be, or the verbs in these groups will have to be slightly modified during conjugation for a good reason. You'll see why. Okay, so I wanted to take this verb lancer. Lancer is to throw something or then to launch something, and well, that's the thing. We will have three tenses that will be concerned by these modifications. The first one will be le présent, then l'imparfait, then le passé simple. We don't really use that much le passé simple, but still it's quite important to actually introduce, this tense and to show you, what modifications we'll have. Okay, and then the other thing will be the form of le participe présent, which is quite useful to actually see. When we're talking about le présent, actually the only form that will be affected or modified somehow will be the nous form. Okay, and if you take 1 minute to actually think about that, normally if we would respect the rule, so for the regular verbs, we should write the verb like L-A-N-C, so without the CD here, and then O-N-S, okay? But then phonetically, we would get l'encon, okay? Nous l'encon, and then the problem that we would have would be, well, difficulty to make the connection with this form and the infinitive, because the infinitive is lancer, okay? And if we get this form l'encon, actually it would be quite difficult to really make the connection between them. So just to get the sound s that we've got in the infinitive, well, we only need to put this cd, okay, and we'll get this nous lançons. All right, so and that's the only modification we will have to make for this group or subgroup, if you want, of irregular verbs. Okay, it will be exactly the same thing for the imparfait form. Okay, so I did put this je and tu because they have the same ending here, but it will be exactly the same thing. So instead of just putting this c here, you will put this cd and you will get je lançais, tu lançais. Okay, for the passé simple, it will be exactly the same thing. So we only need to put this cd and we'll get il lança, all right? And then participe présent, exactly the same modification. Just need to put the cd to get the s sound, lançant. All right, so let's have a look at the imparfait form. And the imparfait form goes like je lançais, tu lançais, il lançait, nous lancions. So you can see that here you don't need to put the cd because when you combine c and e, well, it's the sound s, okay? Vous lanciez, so exactly the same thing for the same reason. And then il lançait, okay? So you can see the modifications here, 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 and here, okay? For the present form, je lance, tu lances, il lance, nous lançons, so as I said, it's here, okay? Vous lancez, il lance. So clearly for all the forms, all the other forms, you don't modify it. You just respect the rule, when we're talking about the regular verbs, okay? But then the only thing is here, as I said, for nous, then in that case you get to put la cédille. And then let's see le passé simple. Je lançais, tu lanças, il lança, nous lançâmes, vous lançâtes, ils lancèrent. So you can see that there is only one form that won't be affected by that, but then all the others will need to be modified with the cd, like here. Okay? So remember, présent, imparfait, passé simple, and then participe présent will be the tenses and the forms affected by these or these modifications. Okay, so that's it. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier, and then you can have a look at my Facebook page. It's right here. More material can be found at the following address: www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon M, and in this lesson we'll continue the series that we just started in the previous video concerning les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we're talking about the verbs from the first group ending with GER, okay? Because if you remember carefully, when I introduced the first group, it was a long time ago, I know, but then I said that, well, actually the first group of verbs are regular verbs, and that's true. I mean, for the endings, it won't be really a problem, but then for some subgroups, we will have some modifications, and this is one of the subgroup that we will talk about, verbs ending with GER, and we'll see the reason why we've got these modifications. I wanted to take a simple and useful verb, so it's bouger. Bouger is to move, okay? And then we will see that the tenses that will be affected by these modifications will be le présent, l'imparfait, and then le passé simple, okay? And then we'll have this participe présent form that will be also affected by that. Okay, but then when we're talking about le présent, actually the good news is that we'll have only one form that will be affected or modified, and this is the nous form. Okay, so if you have a look, and if we would respect the rule, we should write it like nous and then B-O-U-G, so without this E here, O-N-S. But then let's just imagine that the E is not here. Phonetically, we would get the sound bougon, nous bougon. And then the problem is that it would be difficult to actually make a connection with the infinitive bougon, okay? And the infinitive is bouger, je, okay? So ge and je, all right? So the only way, or the only possibility that we've got to make actually this phonetical connection with this form and the infinitive is by adding this here, okay? And so when you put this here, you will get the sound bougeons, okay? And in that case, you know what verbs we are, or what verb we are talking about. Nous bougeons, all right? So it's only this nous form that will be affected at the present tense. If you're talking about imparfait, then, well, I did put this je and tu, actually, but then we will see a bit later that we'll have more forms affected by it, but then for the same reason and with the same tool, so adding this we will actually have the connection, phonetical connection with the infinitive. Je bougeais, tu bougeais. All right. For the passé simple, it will be exactly the same thing. So I did put this il, but then we'll see that other persons are concerned as well. Il bougea. Okay. So exactly the same thing here for the participe présent. So we will get bougeant. All right. So let's have a look now at the present form. Je bouge, tu bouges, il bouge, nous bougeons, vous bougez, il bouge. Okay, so as I said, you can see that we've got only the nous form that will be modified, because all the other forms, well, they are exactly respecting the rules of the regular verbs. And then imparfait, it will go like je bougeais, tu bougeais, il bougeait, nous bougions, vous bougiez, il bougeait. So if you look carefully, it's actually quite interesting, because nous and vous are not concerned by that, just because if you remember, when we combine G and I, we get the sound J. Okay, so that's the reason why we don't need to add this here. Okay, but then it's here, it's here, it's here, and it's also here for the plural. Okay, let's have a look at the passé simple now. Je bougeais, tu bougeas, il bougea, nous bougeâmes, vous bougeâtes, ils bougèrent. Okay, so if you look carefully, then it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, and it's here. So actually there is only this il at the plural form that won't be affected or modified. Okay? So remember, le présent, l'imparfait, le passé simple, and le participe présent will be the forms or tenses that will be affected or modified. Okay, I hope it was clear. This is it. And then if you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier. I'm also on Facebook, and it's right here. And then more material can be found at the following address, www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon N, and we'll continue this series of videos that will cover les conjugaisons irrégulières, and especially we're talking about the first group of verbs ending with ER, and in that case we'll see the verbs that will end with OYER. Okay, just wanted to take a useful verb and, well, envoyer, to send, is actually quite useful. And so we'll see in this video that when we're talking about these verbs, so this subgroup of verbs that normally should be regular, well, they will be irregular, but, and it will only affect l'indicatif présent, le futur simple, le conditionnel présent, and then le subjonctif présent. Okay, so we'll see the conjugation together. So for the indicatif présent, let's see, so it will go like j'envoie, tu envoies, il envoie, nous envoyons, vous envoyez, ils envoient. Okay, so you can see that actually here, 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 and here it's a bit different that normally it should be if we would respect the rule. So let's see now for the futur simple. J'enverrai, tu enverras, il enverra, nous enverrons, vous enverrez, ils enverront. Okay, so now you can see that there is a big difference between what we saw, I mean, for the main group of verbs from the first group and this one, because actually, you know, enverrai form is quite far in a way from the envoyer. Okay, so let's see now conditionnel présent. Well, clearly it will be the same construction or the same idea of construction, so same modification. J'enverrai, tu enverrais, il enverrait, nous enverrions, vous enverriez, ils enverraient. Okay, and then let's see now le subjonctif présent. Que j'envoie, que tu envoies, qu'il envoie, que nous envoyons, que vous envoyez, qu'ils envoient. Okay, and then you can see that here, 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 and here it's a bit different. That's what it should be normally if we would respect the rule for the verbs of the first group. So remember, when we're talking about the verbs ending with OYER, then the following tenses will be affected and modified. So indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent. Okay, check the video one more time if you really need to remember it, because it can be tricky in some way, because especially for the futur simple and conditionnel présent, I mean, phonetically, indicatif présent and then subjunctive présent, they don't really change that much. But then if you've got to talk or if you've got to speak with someone, futur simple and conditionnel, I mean, modification is quite big. So you will hear the mistake. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier is waiting for you. And then I'm also on Facebook, and it's right here. Click on like, please. More material can be found right here. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon O. And in this lesson, we'll see together les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll especially work on les verbes that will end with UYER. Okay? Les verbes en UYER. And I wanted to take, well, simple verb. The verb is essuyer, so it means to wipe. Okay, essuyer. And we'll see that, well, this verb, like the others that will end with U-Y-E-R, well, it will be a bit difficult, or they will change a little bit. So even if it's a regular verb, so it belongs to the first group of verbs ending with ER, okay? But then you'll see that few modifications will be found. So we're talking about l'indicatif présent. We will see that le futur simple will be concerned as well, and then conditionnel présent and subjonctif présent. Okay, so for the other tenses, actually, this verb will behave like all the other regular verbs ending with er. Okay, so let's see now le présent, and we'll have a look. So it's j'essuie, tu essuies, il essuie, nous essuyons, vous essuyez, ils essuient. Okay, and if you look carefully, then you can see that for the first form here, actually this Y is changing, and now it's E. Okay, same thing here, and then it will be exactly the same thing here. Okay, for nous and vous, actually, it does respect the rule for the first group, or for the verbs ending with er, so actually you don't really modify it, you just put this Y and after that the ending, so Y and the ending, okay? But then keep in mind that for the je, tu, il, and then il, in that case you can see that this Y will be changed and it will be replaced by I, okay? So let's see now le futur simple. J'essuierai, tu essuieras, il essuiera, nous essuierons, vous essuierez, ils essuieront. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing that, I mean, you can see that this Y will be changed and modified, and it will be replaced by this I, and you can see that in that case here for the futur simple form, it does concern all the forms. So je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. Okay, so let's see now for the conditionnel présent. J'essuierai, tu essuierais, il essuierait, nous essuierions, vous essuieriez, ils essuieraient. And it's exactly the same modification, so this Y is changed and modified with I here, so, and it does affect all the persons. Okay, and so finally, let's see le subjonctif présent. Que j'essuie, que tu essuies, qu'il essuie, que nous essuyons, que vous essuyez, and then qu'ils essuient. Okay, and exactly as we had for the present form of the indicatif, so the one we saw in just the first one. So same thing here. So Y is changed and replaced by I, okay, for je, tu, and il, and same thing for il at the plural form. So that's the only modifications you need to do, okay? Endings are staying the same, and they don't change at all, okay? So let's remember that if you've got these verbs, so ending with U, Y, E, R, well, indicatif présent will be slightly modified as we saw, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent as well. Okay, so if you want more videos, then remember that youtube.com/imagier is waiting for you. I'm also on Facebook, so if you want to click on like, I will be so happy. And then, of course, more material can be found at the following address, www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon P. And in this lesson, we'll work together on les conjugaisons irrégulières, and then we'll focus on les verbes en A, Y, E, R. Okay, so the verbs that will end with A, Y, E, R. Okay, so I wanted to take, well, a classic verb that we tend to use quite often, and it's payer, to pay. Payer, okay, so A, Y, E, R here, and we'll see that even if it belongs to the first group, so ending with E, R, so regular group, well, this verb will be slightly modified, and it will concern the following tenses: indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctive présent. So it does mean that for all the other tenses, actually these verbs will follow the rule. So the endings will be the same, and then the way we construct and the way we build the forms will be the same. But then for indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctive présent, so we'll see together that we'll have slight or little changes. Okay, so we'll start with the présent. So je paie, tu paies, il paie, nous payons, vous payez, il paie. All right. So what you can see is that this Y actually disappears and is replaced by this I. All right. So like here. So it does concern the je, tu, il. Actually, for nous and vous, you can see that it's here, so it's not a problem. So it does follow the normal rule of conjugation for the first of the verbs of the first group. Sorry. And then for il, the plural form, it's exactly the same as we have for je, tu, and il. So you change this y and you put I instead. Okay, so that's the way it should be done, and that's the way I was taught when I was young. But then the good news is that actually you've got another option for this payer group or AY group, because it is now allowed to write them or to write these verbs like that as well. Okay, so it's a good news because it does mean that in fact it is possible to write them like you should write them, you know, because they belong to the first group of verbs. So it can go like that. So je paie, tu paies, il paie, nous payons, vous payez, and then il paie. Okay, and in that case it's quite funny because we tend to make the difference maybe in pronunciation. So between this one, je paie, and then some persons can pronounce je paye. Okay, tu paies, tu payes, il paie, il paye. Here it's the same. Nous payons, nous payons, vous payez, vous payez, il paie, and then il paye. Okay, and then futur simple. So as you can see, I've been dividing the screen in two, so it does mean that it will be the same. So we'll see first the official and the way l'Académie Française would like us to write it or to say it. So je paierai, tu paieras, il paiera, nous paierons, vous paierez, and then ils paieront. Okay, so you can see that it's exactly the same thing. This Y is gone and it's replaced by this I for each forms. Okay, but then it's also possible to use this je paierai, tu paieras, il paiera, nous paierons, vous paierez, ils paieront. Okay, so it is possible and it is an option for you to keep this Y, and actually it won't be considered as a mistake, or it shouldn't be anyway. And then let's see now le conditionnel présent. So je paierai, tu paierais, il paierait, nous paierions, vous paieriez, il paierait. Okay, and it's exactly the same thing. So it is allowed to use this je paierai, tu paierais, il paierait, nous paierions, vous paieriez, il paierait. Okay, so it's a good news. It's possible to use this Y and to keep it if you want it, or then if you want to respect the official rule, you change this Y and you put this I instead. Okay, and let's see now le subjonctif présent. Que je paye, que tu payes, qu'il paye, or then if you want que je paie, que tu paies, qu'il paie, que nous payons, que vous payiez, qu'il paie. Ok, subjonctif présent, que je paye, ou que je paie, que tu payes, que tu paies, qu'il paye, que nous payons, que vous payez, qu'il paie, or qu'il paye. Okay, so it's actually quite good. I mean, because you can see that you've got two options, which is quite rare in French. Normally you get one rule and then you should respect it. So for this verb actually, and for the group of verbs that will end with A-Y-E-R, So you will have whether the option of respecting the rule and then make these little modifications, or then if you want to keep, well, the normal rule for the ER verbs, then it's possible. Okay, so keep in mind that indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and subjunctive présent are concerned, if you want, by this rule. Okay, more videos can be found right here, youtube.com/imagier, and then you can like me on Facebook. This is your address. And if you want more material, then www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon Q. And in this lesson we'll see les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll see especially the verbs that will end with E, L, E, R. Okay, so verbs from the first group, so regular verbs, but then in some cases they will be a little bit modified. Okay, but then first thing that we should say is that the verbs like appeler, s'appeler, rappeler, se rappeler, or then interpeller, actually they won't follow the rules or the rule that we will see in this video. Okay, so I will make a special video right after this one, okay, and then we'll see how they are modified, because they are modified as well in a way, okay, but then they don't follow the rule that we'll see in this video. Okay, so I wanted to take this verb geler, to freeze, okay, and so we'll see that so geler will actually be slightly modified, okay, and it will concern the following tenses: indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctif présent. For all the other tenses, actually geler will be conjugated like it should be, or like the other verbs from this first group are conjugated. Okay, so we'll start with the présent and we'll see the forms. Je gèle, tu gèles, il gèle, nous gelons, vous gelez, il gèle. Okay, and so what you can see is that je, tu, il, and then il will be concerned by these changes, and in that case we're only talking about this accent grave. Okay, so you will have to remember to put this accent grave on the top of E for je, tu, il, and then il at the plural. If you look carefully, for nous and vous, you don't change, you don't modify it, you just keep it like that and respect the rule of conjugation or construction of conjugation. Okay, so je gèle, tu gèles, il gèle, but then nous gelons, vous gelez, il gèle. Okay, so let's see now for the futur simple. Je gèlerai, tu gèleras, il gèlera, nous gèlerons, vous gèlerez, ils gèleront. Okay, so in that case you can see that all the forms are concerned, and it's exactly the same modification, so you need to put this accent grave on the top of the first here, j'ai, okay, so gèlerai, gèlera, gèlera, gèleront, gèlerai, gèleront. Okay, so if we're talking about conditionnel présent now, we'll see the forms. Je gèlerai, tu gèlerais, il gèlerait, nous gèlerions, vous gèleriez, il gèlerait. Okay, so what you can see is that it's exactly the same modification, and it will concern all the forms. So accent grave on the top of the first E. Gèlerait, 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 gèlerions, gèleriez, gèlerait. For the subjunctive présent now, it will go like que je gèle, que tu gèles, qu'il gèle, que nous gelions, que vous geliez, qu'il gèle. Okay, so the modification will concern je, tu, il, and then il at the plural form. For nous and vous, actually, you don't modify it, you just keep it like that, and you put the normal endings for the subjunctive présent. So, que je gèle, que tu gèles, qu'il gèle, and then qu'il gèle. Okay, so remember that if we're talking about these verbs, so the verbs of the first group ending with E, L, E, R, the following tenses will be modified. So indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent. That's it. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier. Like me on Facebook, I will be so happy, and it's right here, and more material can be found at the following address, www.imagier.net. Have a great day, bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon R, and in this lesson we'll work on les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll see especially the verbs like appeler, s'appeler, rappeler, se rappeler, and then interpeller. All these verbs, okay, so ending with e, l, e, r, but then the verbs that will be part of the appeler family verbs, okay? So we'll see that I took this example, so appeler, okay? And then we'll see that the following tenses will be concerned by these changes. So we're talking about indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent. It does mean that for all the other tenses, actually, appeler will follow the rule of the construction of conjugation of the verbs from the first group, so ending with er, okay? But then for these tenses, it will be a bit different, okay? And that's exactly what we'll see in this video, and we'll start, of course, with the present form. So it will go like j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle, nous appelons, vous appelez, ils appellent. Okay, so if you look carefully, you can see that the je, tu, il, and then the il and the plural form forms are concerned, because you can see that we will double the l. Okay, you will have to put another one. Okay, and then it's quite interesting because, as we saw in the previous video, if you have double L like that, it will affect the pronunciation of the e. So actually it will open the sound, and that's the reason why you will get the sound e, okay? J'appelle, j'appelle, all right? So j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle, and now for nous and vous, actually they follow the rule, but then you keep only one L, so that's the reason why you will get the sound appelons, okay? This is mute or silent, appelons, and then vous appelez, okay? And back to this opened e, okay? So double L, so appelle, all right? So j'appelle, tu appelles, il appelle, nous appelons, vous appelez, ils appellent, okay? So keep in mind that je, tu, il, and then ils are concerned, and that you've got to double the L. Let's see now for le futur simple. J'appellerai, tu appelleras, il appellera, nous appellerons, vous appellerez, ils appelleront. So in that case, for the future simple, all the forms are concerned, and it's exactly the same modification that we saw previously. So you've got to double the L, okay? And it will affect all the forms. So remember, you double the L, so it does open the sound of this E, and you get E, okay? J'appellerai, tu appelleras, il appellera, nous appellerons, vous appellerez, ils appelleront. Okay? Let's see now le conditionnel présent. And it will be exactly the same thing, sorry. J'appellerai, tu appellerais, il appellerait, nous appellerions, vous appelleriez, ils appelleraient. Okay? So same thing, you've got to double the L, and it does concern all the forms, if you can look carefully. So j'appellerai, tu appellerais, il appellerait, nous appellerions, vous appelleriez, ils appelleraient. Okay? And last but not least, le subjonctif présent, que j'appelle, que tu appelles, qu'il appelle, que nous appelions, que vous appeliez, qu'ils appellent. Okay? And here you can see that je, tu, il, and il at the plural form are concerned by that. So same thing, you double the L, and then you open the sound of this here. J'appelle, que tu appelles, qu'il appelle, and then here you just keep the form and you just keep the normal ending, que nous appelions, que vous appeliez, qu'ils appellent. Okay, so remember that for all the verbs that belong to this family of verb appeler, okay, appeler, s'appeler, rappeler, se rappeler, interpeller as well, okay, so they will follow the rule, of course, for the endings, but then they will have some modifications, and as we saw, it will concern l'indicatif présent, le futur simple, le conditionnel présent, and then le subjonctif présent. Okay, so if you want to have more videos, then youtube.com/imagier is the channel and it's waiting for you. You can like me on Facebook and it's right here, and then you can find more material www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon S. And in this lesson, we'll work together on les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll see especially the verbs that will end with TER. Okay, so regular verbs from the first group ending with ER. Okay, but then we'll see that these verbs will be, in some cases, a bit different. And then what we should keep in mind is that the verbs from these family of verbs, so you can see that jeter is the first one, and after that all the verbs will be based on jeter, so déjeter, interjeter, projeter, rejeter, and then surjeter. Well, these verbs won't follow the rule, or they will actually follow another rule. So all the things that we'll see in this video, they won't concern these verbs. Okay, so I've been choosing a verb acheter, quite useful. It means to buy, and as you can see, it's ER, so first group, but then we'll see that for the indicatif présent tense, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctif présent, it will be slightly different. Okay, for all the other tenses, actually, you just respect the rule that we saw concerning the construction of the conjugation so all the other tenses, I mean, it will follow the rule. Okay, so now we'll see the présent form, and then it goes like j'achète, tu achètes, il achète, nous achetons, vous achetez, ils achètent. And so you can see that the only modification we will have to do will be to put an accent grave on the top of this here, okay, and it will concern only je, tu, il, and then il at the plural form. Okay, for nous and vous, actually you don't change, and you just respect the rule, or the rule that we saw concerning the construction of the present tense for the first group of verbs, so ending with er. Okay, but then remember that you've got to put it, and then you will have to pronounce it, so it goes like j'achète, tu achètes, il achète, and then here ils achètent. Okay, after that, nous achetons, vous achetez. Remember this here is silent or mute. Okay, so for the futur simple, j'achèterai, tu achèteras, il achètera, nous achèterons, vous achèterez, ils achèteront. So here you can see that all the forms will be concerned and affected or modified. Okay, so it's the same rule, so you will put this accent grave here, and then you will change the pronunciation, so you will get this est, achèterait, achètera, achètera, achèteront, achèterait, achèteront. Okay? If we're talking about le conditionnel présent, it will be, the same. J'achèterais, tu achèterais, il achèterait, nous achèterions, vous achèteriez, ils achèteraient. Okay? So, same thing, accent grave here, and then it will affect all the forms. J'achèterais, tu achèterais, il achèterait, nous achèterions, vous achèteriez, ils achèteraient. Okay? And last but not least, let's see le subjonctif présent. Que j'achète, que tu achètes, qu'il achète, que nous achetions, que vous achetiez, qu'ils achètent. Okay? And then, same thing, accent grave, and it will concern je, tu, il, elle, and then il, elle at the plural form. For nous and vous, you don't change it. Okay? Que j'achète, que tu achètes, qu'il achète, and then plural form, qu'ils achètent. Okay, well, that's it. So remember that for this ETER, you will have to modify at the indicatif présent, at the futur simple, at the conditionnel présent, and subjunctif présent for all the other tenses. The verb will behave like a normal ER verb. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier, and then I'm also on Facebook. It's right here, and a website is waiting for you, imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon T. And in this lesson, we'll work on les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll see especially, well, the verbs that will be constructed based on jeter. Okay, so you get jeter and then, well, verbs like déjeter, interjeter, projeter, rejeter, surjeter. So they are from the same family, and we're talking about this jeter. So that's the reason why we will see the example of jeter. So jeter, actually, jeter quelque chose, to throw something, or then to pitch something. It could be a ball or it could be a stone, whatever. But then we'll see that actually the following tenses will be affected by these changes. So we're talking about indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctif présent. So it does mean that for all the other tenses, well, actually, jeter will follow the rule. So the rule from the first group of verbs, so er, okay. But then for these tenses, we'll see that we will have little changes, and we'll see right away what are these changes for the présent form. And it goes like je jette, tu jettes, il jette, nous jetons, vous jetez, and then il jette. So what we can see here is that je, tu, il, and il will be affected by these changes, and, well, the only change that you will have to make is that you will have to double the t here. T, okay? Normally you should have only one, and then you will double it. And by putting two t like that, then it will open the sound of this e, so you will get jette, okay? Je jette, tu jettes, il jette, and then here you don't touch it. Jetons, vous jetez, okay? And then back to the change. Il jette. Alright, so you double this letter T here, okay? And then let's see now for the futur simple. Je jetterai, tu jetteras, il jettera, nous jetterons, vous jetterez, ils jetteront. So we can see that here this modification will affect all the forms, okay? And it's, well, exactly the same modification as we did previously for the present form. So you double this letter. Jetterai, jettera, jettera, jetteront, jetterai, jetteront. And then for the conditionnel présent form, je jetterai, tu jetterais, il jetterait, nous jetterions, vous jetteriez, il jetterait. Okay, so exactly the same modification, and it will affect, as for the future, it will affect all the persons. So you double your T here, okay, and you get je jetterai, tu jetterais, il jetterait, nous jetterions, vous jetteriez, il jetterait. Okay, and let's see now how le subjonctif présent will be affected. Que je jette, que tu jettes, qu'il jette, que nous jetions, que vous jetiez, and then qu'il jette. So what can we see here? We can see that je, tu, il, and then il will be affected because you will have to, as we did previously, double this letter. Okay, but then nous and vous, actually you don't touch them, you just follow the rule of construction of the subjunctive présent for the verbs from the first group. Okay, so que je jette, que tu jettes, qu'il jette, que nous jetions, que vous jetiez, and then qu'il jette. And that's it. So keep in mind that for all the verbs that will belong to this jeter family, then indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjunctif présent will have, I mean, the little changes that we saw, okay, for all the other tenses, well, no modifications, just follow the rules that we saw previously. And that's it. If you want more video, then youtube.com/images is waiting for you. I'm also on Facebook, and it's right here. And then if you want to find more material, then just go to this address, www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. This is Unité 14, leçon U. And in this lesson, we'll see les conjugaisons irrégulières, and we'll focus on the verbs from the first group, and then a specific category of verbs that will end with whether or then accent aigu, and then une consonne, and then er. So you've got few examples here. So it could be ending with aider, aimer, aimer, été, but then many others as well. But then they will follow the rule that we will see here, okay? Because actually, even if they are regular, they will be affected and they will have slight changes. So I've been taking this amener, amener is to bring, okay? And then, so bring someone. And then we'll see that actually the tenses that will have these slight or little changes will be l'indicatif présent, le futur simple, le conditionnel présent, and then le subjonctif présent. It does mean that for all the other tenses, actually this verb amener will just behave like a normal verb from the first group, so it will follow the same rules of construction, okay? But then for indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent, little changes will happen, and that's exactly what we'll see in this video. So we'll start with le présent, and then it will go like j'amène, tu amènes, il amène, nous amenons, vous amenez, ils amènent, okay? And then what can we see here? We can see that actually je, tu, il, and il will be concerned by this little change, and it's only the accent here, accent grave on the top of this okay? And then it will change, of course, the pronunciation, because you will have this sound open, amène, okay? Amène, tu amènes, il amène. Nous doesn't change, nous amenons, okay, it's a silent here, mute, amenons. Vous amenez, exactly the same thing, you don't pronounce this and then here back this change, so amène, okay? So remember, the only thing that you will have to change or modify will be to put this accent, l'accent grave. Let's see now for the futur simple, j'amènerai, tu amèneras, il amènera, nous amènerons, vous amènerez, ils amèneront. Okay, so we can see here that all the forms are concerned and all the forms are modified, but then the modification is exactly the same as we saw previously, so it's just this accent grave that you get to put on the top of this amènerait, amènera, amènera, amèneront, amènerait, amèneront. Okay, let's see now for the conditionnel présent, j'amènerai, tu amènerais, il amènerait, nous amènerions, vous amèneriez, ils amèneraient. Okay, and it's exactly the same thing, so we'll have the modification, and this modification will affect all the forms, okay, but it will be exactly the same modification as we saw previously. Just put this accent grave on the top of this amènerait, 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 amènerions, amèneriez, amènerait. Okay, and let's see now the last one, le subjonctif présent, and it goes like que j'amène, que tu amènes, qu'il amène, que nous amenions, que vous ameniez, qu'ils amènent. Okay, and we can see that, well, we'll have the modification, but it will affect only je, tu, il, and then il at the plural form, and it will be exactly the same modification, this accent grave that we get to put on the top of this amène, amène, amène. Then for nous, you don't touch it, so amenions, vous ameniez, and then here, modification for il at the plural form, amène. Okay, and that's it. So remember that for this subgroup of verbs, so the one ending with or then accent aigu, and then une consonne, and then r, okay, so the following tenses will have these slight changes. So indicatif présent, futur simple, conditionnel présent, and then subjonctif présent. So for all the other tenses, no modifications, just put and just conjugate the verb as it should be conjugated according to the rule that will concern all the tenses. Okay, so if you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier is waiting for you. You can like me on Facebook, and it's right here. And then if you want more material, www.imagier.net. Have a great day. Bye bye.